Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a sewing tutorial, hand stitching. As you can see, I've sort of put some lines and written down the stitches so you can see. I'm also trying to use a piece of thread that you'll be able to see. So I've doubled it up. Normally I'd use just a single thread when I was sewing, not doubling it up, unless I'm going to sew a button, which I'll do afterwards. So I'm going to start with running stitch, which is a good basting stitch, and by that I mean you can use it to stick two pieces of fabric together, and if they're particularly difficult to pin, so I like to do it on curves that I'm going to put through the machine, or you can also use it for gathering. So if you wanted to do a gathered waist or a gathered round your top, collar on your shirt or whatever, you can use the running stitch for that. Basting stitch, you do the stitches quite wide. For gathering, it depends how big you want your gather to be. So the smaller the stitch, the smaller the gathers. So let's get started. You always start at the back of your fabric, the wrong side, and by wrong side of the fabric I mean the side where the print's not as clear. So that's right side, that's back side. So you start on the back side of the fabric and you do your running stitch. So running stitch can be quite quick because you can put your needle through without actually having to pull the thread all the way through straight away. So you can put a few stitches, preferably the same sort of length, but you can do a few stitches straight away and then pull your needle through, and you've got your running stitch. Simple, easy peasy. Most people probably already know how to do that. So do it all the way to the end. Whoops. I'm using a really old thread. I don't think they even manufacture this anymore. But I like to buy old sewing kits, you know, from you know, like grandma's sewing kit or whatever, because you can get some right treasures in those. I bought one once and it came with a matchbox that was clearly ancient, but I really enjoyed that one. And it also came with a couple of tins and a darning mushroom and all sorts of really nice things. Another time I bought a sewing box. It's my main sewing box actually, and it had a passport photo in it, which I still have in it. It sort of seemed disrespectful in a way to get rid of it. So there we go, a whole line of running stitch, easy peasy, dead simple and quick. So you can use that for pretty much anything. You could use it for sewing something together, but it would be very loose and it would be gapey, I suppose. But it is a good stitch. I like it. It's very quick and easy. I think I'm going to add some extra thread to that because it's not quite long enough. But if I straighten it out a bit, hopefully I'll be able to get 2 through. It's quite... The trouble with old thread is that it gets brittle, which this one is, and I love this colour, but when I try to use it on my machine, it's got a nick in the side here where you put the thread so that you can grab it more easily, and it just kept getting caught, so that was a shame. I couldn't use it on that. But I do like to use quality threads, which this one is. I've got a few of these in different colours. Should have a pair of tweezers around here somewhere. Can't see any typical. You can never find what you want when you need it. Oh, hello, Nigel. And look, it's come apart there. Goodness me. I may have to... Oh, no, there we go, it's on. Right, so the way I like to tie my knots at the end is wrap it round. Depending on how big you want the knot, depends on how many times you wrap it round. So you wrap it round, and then you've got it on your finger like so. Bend it down and make sure that the tail goes underneath the needle. See, it's not, it's underneath. So it's sort of gone through the loop there. And then also remember not to do it too tight, because otherwise you can't get it, the needle through. So not too tight, but you don't want it too loose either. So now it's on my finger like so. And you just pull through and you have a nice big knot on the end. Now I like to trim mine just a little bit so that it's nice and even. And then we can start again. So I always work right to left. Some people work left to right. It's completely up to you how you work. So again, we're starting on the wrong side of the fabric. And like with running stitch, you're going to put your needle back down like so, but this time we have to pull the thread all the way through. And then you want to come forward about the width of the same stitch so that they're all nice and uniform. You can get these things that you stick on your thumb, like little rulers, and they've got notches in the side of it so that you can do exact stitch widths. I do have a couple, but they're downstairs in my embroidery box. So then we come forward again. So you've got your second stitch. We've come forward, so we're coming out the stitch width there, and then you put your needle back down that hole there so that it's making the next stitch. And this is what you would use if you were sewing two pieces of fabric together properly. You know, like if you go and put your t-shirt on and there's a hole in the side of it on a seam, you wouldn't be able to use this to fill a hole. But It is a good stitch. It's a nice sturdy stitch, and it's done quite quickly as well. And once you've got the hang of it, you can put your needle down, come across like so. Try not to get your thread caught up in the edge, and then back down. Sorry, I've got the shakes today. I'm not having a good time of it at the minute with the fibro. The weather's changing, it's wet and damp, and it plays havoc on my joints anyway, so it messes with my knees. I've got arthritis in my knees, so it sort of messes with my knees, and then obviously the fibro. Today my neck's sore and I'm a bit lethargic, but must get on. I think if I didn't have things to do like sewing or crochet, I'm doing a Temu bought crochet pack set at the minute. It's a giraffe. I think I've posted my first thoughts on the crochet kit. It is really nice. Now that I've sort of done a leg and the head's finished. Okay, so there we go, there's back stitch. So like I said, this one's nice for filling holes. If you look on the back, it's all nice and neat. So that's back stitch. It's another favourite. It'd be even more of a favourite if the thread hadn't come off my needle. So that's back stitch. You can use back stitch to sew pretty much anything. Any two pieces of fabric together, back stitch will work, and it's sturdy, so it's not likely to come undone. So moving on, blanket stitch. This I use more in crochet than I actually do in my sewing. I've used it to edge blankets that I have sewn and crocheted actually. I did one a few years back, and I used blanket stitch to put a fleece back on a baby blanket that I did, because the person I was making the blanket for was worried that the baby's toes would get caught up in the holes from that are left when you do crochet. So blanket stitch. Bear with me, because the last time I did this, I did half and then my brain went completely blank and I couldn't figure it out again. So come in through from the back, and then you come across diagonally here, and then you come up here, catching the thread on the back of the needle and coming through. So it looks like an upside down L. So I'm going to do it this way a couple of times so that you can get the hang of it. So you come up, you want to be straight up from the bottom of that stitch there. So you come up, and then you come diagonally across, however wide you want that bottom part of the stitch to look. So it's like that, and then you come down and you have another backwards L. So up from the bottom. This is calico fabric, by the way, and I buy it every couple of months on Temu. Not Temu, I'm lying, Amazon. And this is a medium weight, so it's quite thick and sturdy fabric, but it's cheap as chips. So you can do a lot of sewing practice with it, but it also, I've made aprons with it, and my favourite is to do a tote bag. So I'll make a plain tote bag with the calico, and then I'll either embroider on it, or I have those iron-on decals at the moment somewhere. I'll get them out in a bit and show you, which I got on Temu, and I do like those, but so I'm a bit of a clothes fiend. I don't know, I suppose being a larger person, I like to have nice clothes to make up for the fact that I feel fat and ugly a lot of the time. But I have I wouldn't say I'm really talented at anything, but I am proficient in a lot of areas. I feel like I like teaching. I like being able to give someone else a little bit of whatever I've got. You know, if that's teaching someone how to crochet or how to sew, it's what makes me happy. I was paid a compliment actually the other day. I sold the sewing machines that I used for oh, I can't remember, it's gone, but I had 2 sewing machines, basic ones, great starter machines for newbies to sewing. It had all the necessary stitches. There was only 14, but it had all the important ones, so straight stitch, zigzag stitch, buttonhole, not buttonhole, yes, buttonhole, and zipper foot. So it had all the feet you need. But I showed the lady who bought it from me how to use the machine as quickly as possible, because obviously you don't want to be hanging around, do you? So I showed her quickly how to use the machine, and she was like, oh, you've got a very clear way of explaining things. You'd make a good teacher. And I thought, that's such a nice thing to say. Right, so let's leave that there. So this is a way you could do it. Say you wanted the stitch to be at the bottom of the bottom part of the stitch actually on the blanket this side. So that's the edge of your blanket. So you've stitched it that way. and you've got the L's there. So you can have your little vertical lines going that way, but you could also stitch it the other way. So you'd start at the top. I have a friend who's come to say hi. Hi there, Nigel. Hi there. That's not yours though, that's Mummy's. There go. No, because your foot's stuck now. Silly. Excuse me. So we come up through the top. And then, do we come up through the top? No, we don't. See if I can get back through there without... You've put me off, Nigel. Okay, so that was quite good. Right, so through the bottom, like so, across diagonally, and then through there, and then you put your stitch there. To hold it back, and then back through, and then across there, so you're back in on the bottom part of your thing. I would definitely either get one of those some measuring ruler things that I mentioned earlier, or draw a straight line. Now, I've used the friction pens, and I've said it before in my equipment video. I use the friction pens because they iron out and usually don't leave a mark. So, but with everything, if you're stitching on good and you're using a fabric marker of any kind, you need to just double check that you can get it off, because some of these chalk and wax and whatnot markers, they don't work very well, and when they do work, you end up with marks, especially if you've drawn right side of the fabric, which is a feasible thing to do. So there we go, there's blanket stitch. I'll do a couple more so that you can just doubly check that you are seeing it and I'm not going all wonky, and watch it be completely off in a minute. So you come to the right of the stitch, you go across diagonally the width that you want your stitch to be, you come up through and hit the tail of that, making sure that your thread is behind the needle. So there we go. Obviously this stitch can also be flipped the other way, so you can have the line going this way or whatever. You can choose how you want your stitch to be placed. So I use that one quite a bit. Plus it can be used as a decorative stitch in embroidery if you wanted to use it in embroidery. That's a thing that you could, another option for blanket stitch is that. You can use it in embroidery. You can use it anywhere that you wanted. I wouldn't stitch too pieces of fabric together with it, but certainly as an edge stitch or whatever, you can use it because it's quite pretty. And I found people have been... Oh, I've just lost another needle. That's like my second one today. We all know what I'll be getting in my feet later is needles. Ow. A little sewing basket on the floor. The pins must be facing outwards because I've just stabbed myself. Okay. So we want to thread the needle. Now I usually use needles with a golden head. I don't know whether they're better or not, to be fair, but Amazon do these needles that come in a little black round case, and they've all got gold. Oh, this looks like it might be gold actually. But I like them. For me, they stitch more smoothly, and they're quite sharp, so they usually go through quite well. Right, so we have my knot on the back, not quite as big this time. Not sure what that is underneath my nail. That's a bit ick. Do not use your needles to clean under your nails. It's sore. Okay, ladder stitch. Now this is the one that I would use if I was stitching a hole closed on a t-shirt, say. Or like little badges to t-shirts. You know how we used to get scout badges or whatever. You can use this stitch and it's invisible. You can use it to close up a teddy bear. If you've made a teddy bear, it's a good stitch. So you come up through the back as always. Then you're going to come, I think I'm going to do it from an up position. So I'm going to come across. You come straight across from that stitch, or as straight as you can, and you put it across there. And then on the same side that you've just put your needle, you're going to take a small bite out of the fabric. So it should look like this. And the first rung of your ladder is sewn. And then you come straight across. It's dead simple stitch. So you come straight across from where you've just pulled your needle up through. And then you take a bite out of the fabric and pull the needle all the way through. And you have your second rung. So you go down, straight across from where you came up, and then you take another bite out of the fabric, like so. And as you can see, a ladder is starting to form. So you come across, take a bite out of your fabric and pull it through. Again, I would just use a single thread for this. I wouldn't double it up. So then you come across, straight across. The straighter you are, the neater it will be, obviously, but you'll see why it needs to be ideally straight in a minute. So you come across on the opposite side, take a bite out of your fabric, pull through. Come straight across. When you're making, if you make a tote bag and you do it with a lining, you can use this stitch to close up the gap that you leave behind. I'll be doing a tutorial on that next, I think. So your ladder is forming. So come straight across, take a bite, pull through. Good way to remember is across, bite, pull through. Okay, so I think I've done enough stitches to show you the next part. So yeah, that one's not very straight, but we'll see. So on the back, you've got two lines that are starting to form, which forms the rest of your ladder. So I've put these stitches here partly so that you could have a guideline, but also because it does look like a ladder then. And if you turn it over, you can sort of see the rungs on the back. So as long as these stitches are straight on the back, like running stitch, and then horizontal or vertical, depending on how you have your fabric, the rungs. So you would do that. And the magic is now, so you gently pull the stitching and it pulls it closed. Keep pulling, there we go. And then you can sort of just straighten it out a bit so that the stitches are straight. You could potentially steam it and you end up with a nice straight line that has been stitched, but you can't tell. It's called ladder stitch, or it's also called invisible stitch because it disappears in your sewing. So you can use that to stitch the hole in your t-shirt, which is probably what I would do. I would use this stitch, I think, for that. I definitely use it when I do linings because you have to stitch the lining to the outer, obviously, and then you have to turn it right side out because you would, the way you would stitch it, it would be inside out. So you then pull all of your fabrics right sides out, but you need a slight hole to do that. So I don't know, I normally wouldn't leave it that. I usually tend to like to struggle because I'm weird and nothing's ever comes easy to me, so I have to struggle. That's probably because my brain doesn't work in the same way as other people's does, but I get there in the end, obviously, or I wouldn't be where I'm at. So anyway, that's that stitch. Like I said, I find it incredibly useful for just hiding stitches. My auntie, who passed away this week, she once commented that she was impressed she couldn't see how I'd done the lining on the tote bag I sent her. she loved cats, so I bought canvas fabric with cats on it, and then a black and white cotton polka dot for the inside, and sent it to her. She lived in America, and she couldn't tell how I'd done it, so I felt a little bit not smug's not the right word, proud I suppose, clever me sort of, without sounding pompous I suppose. Yeah, I don't know, it just made me feel good that somebody appreciated my work. So there we go, my most 4 used stitches. I was going to do another one, but I couldn't remember what it was, and that because I couldn't remember, I figured it wasn't one of my most used stitches. So this is what we've ended up with: 4 running stitch, back stitch, blanket stitch and ladder stitch. In my next video I think I don't know, I want to do embroidery, but at the same time I don't want to just do some random stitches like I have done this. I want there to be a little bit of a change up, so I'm going to have to think about that a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do next is a lined tote bag, because they're dead simple to make and I can throw one together in less than half an hour if the fabric's already cut out. So I think what I'll do is I'll cut the fabric and then give you the measurements so that you can cut it yourself, and then you can see how I put it together. I think that's the best bet, otherwise we'll be here for hours and I don't want that. So yes, thank you for coming back, and I'll see you back here for the tote tutorial. Thank you very much. Bye.